Hello and welcome to the India development debate. The battle lines are drawn and looks like the BJP is all set to make a comeback in Gujarat for a record 6th time in a row. In fact, a Times NOW-VMR opinion survey predicts the Saffron party will romp home easily with anywhere between 118 to 134 seats, decimating the Congress, which is likely to win just over 60 seats at best. Interestingly, BJP's vote share is also likely to go up despite the twin blows of GST and demonetisation. In fact, the survey says the Patel agitation, which the Congress is heavily banking on, will have very little impact on the ground. So what's going right for the BJP in this western heartland? Is the Gujarat development model bringing in the votes, and more importantly, is the Modi factor continuing to help the BJP despite the GST demo blues? Battleground Gujarat, that's our India development debate tonight, and we've got a very special panel joining us on the show this evening. GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP, we've got Ms. Yagnik of the Congress, Sagarika Ghosh, consulting editor at Times of India, R. Jagannath, and editorial director at Swaraj magazine, Neerja Chaudhary, political commentator and columnist. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining in on the show this evening. Before I take it to the politicians, as always, I'd like to take it to the panel first, to my expert, Sagarika. I'll start off with you. You know, despite all the noise, despite all this talk of the opposition getting some sort of momentum, despite the twin blows of GST and demonetisation, looks like, you know, Gujarat remains a citadel of the BJP.
Absolutely, Sandeep. Gujarat is a BJP fortress. It's a BJP citadel. The BJP has been in power there for 22 years. Its vote share is between 48% and 51%. The Congress, if you count Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections, has been out of power for 32 years. And the Congress's vote share has never gone beyond 33% to 37%. So the Congress is a good 10% behind the BJP in terms of vote share. The BJP has a very highly developed local network in Gujarat. It has strong local leaders. It is growing all the time. Of course, urban Gujarat is a bastion of the BJP, but it is also growing in Adivasi areas. We know that the RSS is doing through its Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram a lot of work in the Adivasi areas. 15% of Gujarat is Adivasi, so the BJP is growing there as well. And also, you know, most importantly, the BJP in Gujarat at the moment is Narendra Modi. He's still the Chief Minister of Gujarat, even though he's Prime Minister of India, and he has enormous credibility. He's enormously popular, and let's face it, over the last couple of weeks, he has also done some course correction regarding the blows given by GST and demonetisation. We have seen the relief given to the khakra in terms of the GST levies. We've seen the relief given to SMEs. So Mr. Modi has done a lot of course correction in Gujarat. He's gone there several times. He may be a little nervous about the turnout this time because of the economic slowdown and because of the fallout of the double whammy of demonetisation and GST, but there is nothing in the poll to show that there is any kind of anger against the BJP. You know, the BJP to be dislodged needs a wave of anger, needs an anti-BJP wave, needs an anti-BJP angry wave, and that anti-BJP wave is certainly not there in Gujarat.
Okay, fair enough. Neerja Chaudhary, comment on that. Does this take you by surprise? Because especially over the last 2 to 3 weeks, you know, this whole narrative has been spun quite successfully by the opposition, I might say, you know, blaming the economic slowdown, using the GST and the demonetisation to make it appear as if a large part of the electorate is disillusioned. Are you surprised by the findings that this poll throws up? Because, you know, it's also in line with the finding of another poll done by another television network, the Aaj India Today group, and even their numbers seem to indicate largely a comfortable victory for the BJP. So do these numbers surprise you at all, Neerja Chaudhary?
Yes, I am a bit surprised because of at the level of people you've talked to individually, whether it's educated middle class in Ahmedabad or the traders in Surat, or some of the Dalit, the feedback that's coming, some young people who've lost jobs. Yes, I thought, you know, that would not be the kind of 134 scenario. I had thought it would be a tough fight this time, not a cakewalk for the BJP. But I agree with Sagrika's analysis that if it is an akrosh vote, a vote of anger against the BJP, then the story would be very different. If it is a vote just of dissatisfaction and unhappiness because of GST, particularly the GST and earlier the demonetization decisions, then it's going to be, the BJP would get through. Now, yes, in terms of women remain a very firm constituency of Narendra Modi personally. The Adivasis, the tribal belt, where the BJP has done a lot of work over the decades. Then OBC also, SC also, where it had made a mark. Certainly Patidars have been unhappy and Hardik Patel has represented that opinion. But the Patidars in the villages, I think, remain with the BJP at the end of the day. The youth Patels are swinging to the BJP. So yes, there is a Dalit unhappiness after Una and other incidents. Yes, there is traders unhappiness after GST. Yes, there is young youth also unhappy, Patidars unhappy, or Thakur's now getting consolidated behind the Congress. So Congress is in the process of reviving its old 80s calm vote bank, whether it's going to work in the calm way. Kshatriya, Harijan, Adivasi not so much, and of course Muslim.
Right.
Patidars, smattering of it. Then, it is, I think the BJP would still have the advantage. But if that unhappiness is actually simmering as anger, then the people are not going to look at who is opposing the BJP, they'd vote for it.
Okay.
Whether it's a Rahul Gandhi, whether it's a united opposition, what kind of government will they give, that then becomes secondary.
Right.
So that is the critical question for me.
So you're saying the critical question is whether the unhappiness is simmering in terms of anger. Jaggi, comment on that. How are you reading these opinion polls? Because, it was not so long ago that we had this rally of traders in Surat with that slogan, Hamari Bhool, Kamal Ka Phool. And, and you've been a part of debates on GST where the trader lobby has been a little disillusioned, a little disappointed. Despite all that angst is not translating into a vote against the BJP. What explains that according to you, Jaggi?
I think we need to discount the early opinion polls because we are seeing them before the agenda and the electioneering has begun in real earnest. Though Mr. Modi and Amit Shah have made a few trips to Gujarat, and also Rahul Gandhi has been on the campaign trail for a while now, and I think the mood is yet not been set. We know one thing we know, that there has been a greater response to the Congress rallies this time than ever in the past. So there is some amount of something building up there which we are not able to see. The second point I would say is that when you capture these polls a little too early, if you see the CSDS poll about a month and a half ago said 60% vote. Now we are saying 51, 52%. So the trajectory is a little weakening. So if you say by closer to say the first week of December, you might find there is a significant shift. I think the Congress is also not making the mistake of harking back to 2002, which is a good move. But Rahul is still making the mistake of targeting Modi. As long as he targets Modi, I think the Congress will not find traction because Modi is a man you cannot complain about in Gujarat. In fact, the right way for the Congress to make an impact is to actually target the local leadership, which has been fairly insipid and which can actually face a lot of flack because though they have done reasonable work during the floods. But I think the GST agitation and demonetization has a lot of built up anger which is subterranean and is not yet surfaced. And then of course there is the joblessness where previously landed communities are now demanding reservations, the Patidars being one of them. So I think there is a groundswell there, but whether it will be enough to overturn the BJP's apple cart or not, that we cannot say. But there is something building up and we will know for sure only after about a month. We are still in the last week of October. By the time we get to the last week of November, we will know how the mood is shaping up.
Let's take it to the politicians and GVL. You heard Jaggi there. He's saying it's too early to call this election. Now, for the benefit of our viewers, this survey was conducted between the 1st and the 3rd week of October. So it's earlier in the month. And of course, a lot of the aggressive campaigning has happened since then. One would argue that the BJP has also announced a slew of SOPs in this period, which will have some repercussion as well. But GVL, coming on the point that Jaggi made, that it's too early to call this election, that there is still a groundswell of negative opinion that is building against the BJP. GVL.
everyone is entitled to their opinions, but the Gujarat being what it is, I think it does not matter which part of the year or which part of the tenure of a government you conduct a poll. You will always see the BJP miles ahead of the Congress, principally because the BJP as a party has a far greater attraction than the Congress party. To begin with, the Congress is somehow not acceptable. There is some resistance to consider Congress as an alternative. Second, there is no leadership for the Congress party in the state level. I think even Waghela would have actually given it a slightly better chance. With Waghela out of the scene, the Congress is completely leaderless, rudderless in the state of Gujarat. And at the national level, Rahul Gandhi simply doesn't have the capacity. In fact, he drags the Congress down in Gujarat. If there is one state he can pull the Congress tally down, actually, veritably, it is the state of Gujarat. And possibly that explains why Hardik Patel says, I am willing to meet, or I have met Ashok Gehlot, but I have never met Rahul Gandhi. Why would there be such a distinction if there was something negative not associated with Rahul Gandhi personally? So I think the Congress doesn't have much of a chance because it has always pursued negative politics. Congress is always seen to be, because in their opposition to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Congress has always been seen to be actually anti-Gujarat. I think this is a stigma that Congress certainly has. And if you go by impressionistic assessments, if you go and talk to a few people, the problem is journalists don't expect anything negative to be mentioned about Prime Minister or about the BJP. I think this is how journalists get carried away. You go and listen to some voices of criticism of the Prime Minister or the BJP, you would think, oh, this is something unexpected. Because you expect the BJP to not to be criticized by anybody, because we have been in power for 22 years. I think it is this mistake they end up making, because you will get some voices of criticism, some voices of dissent. The total number of GST traders in Gujarat, I'm sure as a business channel, economic channel, you know it better. It's about 7 lakhs. Out of them, I think nearly 90% would be under the composition scheme.
Right.
Which practically means that they are not affected by the GST.
And yet,
so even the remaining people,
point taken, and yet there was,
they had, whatever concerns they had, even they have been addressed.
Fair enough, but GVL,
they have been addressed.
Okay, GVL, point taken, but yet when there was a rally of traders in Surat, there was a great response, and their slogan was a very powerful one, which is the point that Jaggi and I were alluding to. But let me throw it now to Amiben Yagnik, because one of the points that GVL made is something that the Prime Minister as well made when he was campaigning in Gujarat of Congress being anti-Gujarat. Right, this is a narrative being spread of Congress being anti-Gujarat. How would you counter that narrative, and how would you retort to the charges made by GVL in the debate?
Yes, well, I think this is kind of a scripted response to a question regarding BJP and Congress in Gujarat. Whenever you ask a BJP spokesperson, there is nothing like anti-Gujarat. But I can tell you one thing, that all that is happening at the ground level, the rural areas, I think there's a lot of anger in a sense regarding the GST and demonetization. Let's not forget that Gujarat is a completely commerce place, you know, it's a small time traders, the medium scale and the small scale industries. There is definitely some kind of an anger. So we may not just right now go to the opinion polls, but if you just look at the past 1.5 months record, and you will see that there were 2 major rallies by Rahul Gandhi, and here comes the Honorable Prime Minister for 5 times to Gujarat, and then suddenly, as if you have just forgotten in the last 1 year or 2 years to declare some kind of schemes and SOPs and some kind of declarations regarding giving some kind of subsidies or benefits to very large sections of disgruntled people or aggrieved people or dissatisfied class, you come and just declare in a short span of 15 days or 10 days, well after the Himachal Pradesh dates were announced, and suddenly there is a spate of advertisements that you will get this, you will get that. There have been ASHA workers on the ground crying for money, crying for the salaries for almost about 4.5 months. Nobody even went there. No local leader from BJP goes there or meets them, and suddenly there comes a hike in their salaries. There is a section of fixed people who get fixed pay, a class which has got a fixed pay, and suddenly you declare just 2 days before the election commission announces the dates. So here, why, if Rahul Gandhi has only 2 rallies, but everywhere he was accepted with such warmth, you know, this time, and I think that made the Honorable Prime Minister come to his home ground, because there is no local leadership in BJP here. BJP is only Prime Minister Modi. So you cannot say it's a Gujarat model, but maybe you can say it's a Modi magic or Modi model. And that is why he had to come here to say that, yes, here I am. But do you think that the people of Gujarat are going to think that the Honorable Prime Minister is going to become the Chief Minister of Gujarat? What about the Chief Minister here? And what about the BJP Adhyaksh? Rahul Gandhi is the party Upadhyaksh, and he would come to any state where there is election as a Congress representative.
Ami Ben Yagnik, you made your point, and I'm going to let GVL counter that before I take it to my experts, which is the fact that, you know, if the BJP was so confident of this election, then, you know, the Prime Minister wouldn't be traveling to Gujarat to inaugurate flyovers. And number one. Number two, look at the slew of measures announced in the last 15-20 days, from reducing the GST rates on kakara to a loan at 0% for farmers up to 3 lakh rupees, to withdrawal of cases against 326 patidar, to reimbursement of 18% GST paid by farmers on drip irrigation equipment, hike in salary of teachers and municipality staffers, like Ami Ben Yagnik pointed out, 3,600 crores smart city projects for Vadodara, phase 2 of Ahmedabad Gandhinagar metro being cleared. This is all last minute populism. This would not have been needed if the BJP was so confident of its position in Gujarat. GVL.
No, Sandeep, the problem that the journalists make is that they see politics from the perspective or from the prism of the way politics was conducted in this country in the 80s and 90s and even in the last decade. I think which is basically parties approach elections with some amount of lethargy and a laid-back attitude. And when you find the BJP leadership and the Prime Minister or our national president putting all their might into an election, working round the clock 24/7, you tend to think this is a sign of panic. I think you will not find Rahul Gandhi flustered even if he is getting 6 seats in Uttar Pradesh, and you will see the BJP leadership frantically trying to improve its tally even if we know we are going to get 300 seats. So that is the difference of perspectives. So don't judge us by the amount of effort that we make, because we don't approach elections with a sense of lethargy. We want to put all our effort into it. We want to maximize our effort and maximize results. So if that is seen as a sign of weakness, I think people are entitled to their assessment. You've said the same analysis was made when Prime Minister conducted roadshows in Uttar Pradesh and Varanasi, which went to the assembly poll 6 months ago. People said, why is Prime Minister spending so much time in Varanasi? The result was we gave a splendid victory. We achieved a splendid victory. We want to maximize our effort. We don't want to be content with the kind of response that we are getting. We want to reach 150. If you're giving us 125, we want to get to 150. That is the kind of a motivation, that's the kind of an energy level that we want to put into elections.
Okay. Let me throw to my panel. Shagrika, you first. Is this a sign of nervousness? The slew of SOPs, the sort of aggressive campaigning that we've seen, is it a response to the sort of crowds that Rahul Gandhi was able to generate in the rallies in Gujarat? Or is this how the BJP electoral machinery works? We've seen this model replicated in state after state. You know, let's face it, the way they approach elections is fundamentally different from the way the Congress has and does. What's your reading, Shagrika?
Sandeep, the BJP throws itself 100% into every election it fights. But let's face it that the Congress is looking a little more energetic and dynamic in this election campaign than it has ever done. The problem with the Congress's campaign at this moment is that it doesn't have a local leadership, it doesn't have a local face, it doesn't have local organization, and it doesn't have that much goodwill. You know, it is relying on the 3 caste leaders, the 3 youth leaders. I'll Alpesh Thakur leading the OBCs, Jignesh Malwani leading the Dalits, and Hardik Patel leading the Patidars is relying on these three youth leaders to give it support, which shows that it simply has not built an organization on a regional base of its own. The Congress in Gujarat is the B team of the BJP. You know, the 4 Gujarat agitations that have taken place, the big agitations in Gujarat, I'm not saying there's no discontent, I'm not saying there's no anger, there is anger. The Surat traders have marched against GST and demonetization. Alpesh has led the OBC agitation, Jignesh has led the Dalit protest, Hardik has led the huge Patidar protest, but these protests have been without the Congress. The Congress has been kept out of these protests because the Congress does not have that kind of goodwill in Gujarat. So the fact is, in a 2-horse race, it's not as if the Congress is necessarily going to benefit from the disenchantment that exists with the situation at the moment in Gujarat. The fact is, there is an economic slowdown, GST is hurting, demonetization is hurting, and Mr. Modi knows this, which is why there is a hint of perhaps of nervousness. Remember, the BJP has lost the very important bipole of Gurdaspur, which it held for 2 decades, has been lost. It's gone to the Congress. The BJP pulled out all the stops in Kerala for that by-election. There it finished 4th. The Congress has just swept the Nanded municipal election. So it's not as if the BJP has not suffered poll reverses. It has. But the fact is, at the end of the day, it is still a BJP-dominated political landscape in Gujarat, and even though the BJP may not succeed in its mission of 150, the mission 150 may not come true. It is trying to better the record of Madhav Singh Solanki, who in 1985, the great Congress stalwart, scored 149. So the BJP is trying to make it mission 150. It's perhaps unlikely that they will achieve mission 150. Perhaps the margin will come down.
Right.
But I think it's probably not accurate to say that the disaffection and disenchantment that exists will benefit the Congress, because the Congress is the B team of the BJP in Gujarat. It does not have an identity. All its leaders are coming from the BJP. Mr. Shankar Singh Waghela is a dyed-in-the-wool Jansangh leader who left the BJP and joined the Congress, now has his own party. Mr. Chimanbhai Patel was a Congress leader. He left the Congress, joined the BJP, then come back to the Congress. So the Congress really doesn't have leaders of its own. It doesn't have an identity of its own.
Okay, let me
That's the problem with the Congress in Gujarat.
Okay.
It simply does not have an identity or a local presence or a local face. So while there is discontent in the face of these caste agitations, it remains to be seen whether in this election the big X factor turns out to be caste. Will caste
Shagarika, let me get in a word. Let me get in a word from the Congress
that the BJP banks on. Or will Hindutva reign supreme and the BJP still be carried to a majority?
Okay, let me get in a word from Ammi-Ben Yagnik on that. You know, Shagarika sort of there clearly elaborated on why she believes that the disenchantment, if there was against the BJP, is not necessarily translating into a positive vote for the Congress. The fact that you don't have strong leadership, the fact that, you know, she's gone to the extent of saying that it's actually a B team of the BJP. Ammi-Ben Yagnik, and even the opinion poll seems to validate Sagarika's theory, which explains why the votes are not shifting for the Congress, which explains why there's still almost a 10% gap in the vote share of the BJP and the Congress. Ammi-Ben Yagnik.
Yeah, I think we should not go to the polls right now, because suddenly you will find a number of polls coming out. But I think the ground reality is that Congress has become a very strong party. Of course, Mr. Waghela has gone on his own, and I don't know how much difference that would make, because he started his own setup, and how far that's going. But we have other very strong leaders, and we have a process within the Congress party. So we may not go into that, because every time an election comes up, they would say, when there is a statement coming out from the BJP also and from many experts that, well, you don't have a one leader or a face, or you don't declare a chief ministerial candidate. But let's not look at that part. Congress is doing extremely well. It's going to do it extremely well this time, and everywhere it has got all kinds of workers, a 3-tier level. But it was a moment when we decided that, well, we can invite these 3 young leaders if they would like to come with us. And that is how the 3 Andolankaris, you know, all of them have been putting their demands before the state government. and they have not got any result, any justice, any fairness from the state government so far. And so, well, they have in their own right whether they would like to join the Congress or not. Even as Hardik Patel is facing a lot of criticism or whatever, his own party people have been hijacked by the BJP. That is what the BJP does. It doesn't like other parties, but it likes to buy people from those other parties who are opportunists at this point of time. It's not a pure BJP at all if you look at that. Forget about the Congress being pure. The Congress is a pure party. All those who were there have already left now. And so I think Congress doesn't have to worry as far as Gujarat is concerned. The people of Gujarat have realized what has happened. There is a complete performance failure, a governance model that has failed. You know, you just go on showing the riverfront right from the museum, and you just flaunt that instead of showing the social indicators, the poverty, the unemployment, the education system which has completely collapsed, and how expensive it has become for
we will talk about the social indicators. You've raised a valid point. We will talk about.
That is why all the social indicators.
Yeah, we will. We will talk about social indicators. But just allow me to go to Jaggi and Neerja Chaudhary. Been waiting patiently. Jeeval, I'm coming to you as well. But Neerja, to you as well. To you first. The point that you and Shagrika were earlier making about the fact that the Congress to win needs a wave in its favor. That you made, that this Akrosh, this resentment has to turn into an Akrosh. What could be the X factor for the Congress? I mean, we've just got a few months to go for polls. In fact, less than a month and a half maybe. What could be the X factor, if at all any, for the Congress, or is it sort of looking very tricky at this stage? Neerja?
I think, if they manage to get a social access, but there also there will be problems. For instance, Alpesh Thakur represents the Thakur community. The Thakurs have been with the Congress traditionally. Now they may get consolidated with this young man coming in. That's a hope of the Congress party. But then there are the inherent contradictions between the Thakurs and the Patidars. If the Patidars want to also look, and they have been unhappy also, there is no doubt about that. And there is the agricultural crisis that's responsible for, there are the larger issues responsible for them being so unhappy over a period. It's not a sudden development, and that's a loss of jobs or the non-creation of jobs that they should have been. So the Patidars, who've been politically very powerful, landed community, have had a say in the affairs of Gujarat over the decades, now today want reservation. Now that says a lot about the state of affairs, and you alluded to it at the beginning. So I'm saying, suppose a chunk of the Patidars who've always been the support base of the BJP turn to the Congress, the Dalits turn to the Congress, the Kshatriyas and Assam OBCs turn to the Congress, Muslims largely will turn to the Congress, then yes, that, and there is a social access that the Congress is able to put together, yes, then it could be a tricky situation for the BJP. But let me say this, here the BJP leaves nothing to chance. When they find themselves in an adverse situation, I agree with GVL on this, they find themselves in an adverse situation, they will double up their efforts and try and overcome it. They don't reconcile themselves to defeat or even anywhere near defeat. So it's a party with a killer instinct today. It's on the rampage. It wants power all over India. Gujarat is critical for it because it's a state of Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. So if they lose Gujarat, and losing, even scraping through is going to be seen as a defeat, then that will set the tempo for 2019. And if the Congress does better, that also sets the tempo for 2019 as far as the Congress and the opposition is concerned. Therefore, the BJP can be expected to pull out all stops. And therefore, I am not surprised, the inauguration of the different schemes, even a ferry scheme by the Prime Minister. Normal times you would say, it's the Prime Minister of the country.
Absolutely.
He's not the Prime Minister of Gujarat. And I would personally not like any Prime Minister to be put in this position to have to do this. But Gujarat is supremely important for the BJP, as we've seen in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, Jaggi, what about Hardik Patel? Could he be the X factor at all, or are we is the media over-exaggerating, exaggerating his importance and the political capital that he could bring to these elections? Again, this survey doesn't seem to indicate that he's going to swing the vote one way or the other, even though Patel's as a community has a significant sway on the vote in the Gujarat elections. But what's your own sense? Could Hardik Patel be an X factor? He's sort of indicated his support to the Congress party in an interview to Times Now. But could he be the X factor, or do you think his his importance is largely exaggerated by the media?
No, I don't think he'll make a marginal difference, no doubt. But I don't think people like Hardik Patel or Alpesh or anybody is going to make that much of a difference, because I think Gujarat has probably gone past that stage. Don't forget, even in 2007, there was Modi changed all the Patel leaders. The Patel community was against them, but he managed to bring in new thing and made the incumbents lose out. Then again in 2012, you had Keshubhai Patel and others fighting again, and again they lost. So my point is, the Modi appeal transcends all this intra-caste. And don't also forget, for every guy who demands reservation, there will be an equal or more number of people opposed to it, because if you expand the reservation bucket, it can come only at the cost of somebody else, because there is a limit to how much you can give reservations within a certain percentage. So I think it's a zero-sum game when you keep talking about reservations all the time. If A gets reservation, B gets less. So you're not going to get some kind of huge groundswell because of Hardik Patel. In fact, what the BJP needs to work out is this. I think the Gujarati population, especially in the urban areas, is comfortable with the BJP's brand of politics. There is a groundswell of anger about certain issues. Demonetization is not an issue anymore, but GST certainly is. And I think there is some anger. If the opposition manages to make this about a protest vote rather than an anti-BJP vote, I think they will probably find greatest traction, because I don't see any positive agenda on the part of the opposition, whereas the BJP, in terms of its DNA, is quite close to what the Gujaratis want. So I would say that this is more like an anger within your own family, that look, I don't know why you guys did this to me. That's what the traders are saying, or whatever it is. And I think the BJP needs to basically reassure them, and I think they will do reasonably well. So the only hope for the opposition is to turn this into a protest vote, saying that, look, we want to teach you a lesson. We don't care whether the Congress comes to power or not. And it's not going to be a positive vote if at all that BJP does badly. It's going to be a negative vote to express anger against the BJP on some issues.
What I find surprising is that opinion poll says, and we asked how has quality of life been impacted post demonetization and GST, and it's almost neck and neck. 40% believe that it's worsened, but about 42% believed that it's either improved significantly or improved marginally, which to my view is a little surprising. But GVL, to you, specific question, one on the fact that Neerja made the point that she made on how it's all about Modi, the fact that, Vijay Rupani at the end of the day seems to have lesser popularity than even Anandiben Patel, whom he replaced as the chief minister. He is not even a talking point. The vote is only for Modi. And do you believe that, that Hardik Patel could be an X factor for the Congress? GVL.
I think a lot of obviously, because we have a very towering personality in the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, I think he will certainly be the principal vote dragger, vote puller for the BJP. That's a given. He has won the entire country for the BJP, so in his home state he will certainly be the biggest attraction. But that does not mean, I think people, the media would be judging of making a huge mistake if they really think that the chief minister doesn't have acceptability or popularity. It will be difficult for you to find people who will be critical of Vijay Rupani in Gujarat today. You will not find many people, because he's by sheer nature, by his personality, he has certainly endeared himself to the people of Gujarat. So certainly, although he is still he is not a national level leader to be really noticed or recognized, to the people of Gujarat for the last 2 years that he has been at the helm of affairs, I think he has brought certainly a lot of, he has not only implemented development agenda of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he has also been able to keep all sections of the society happy. You see, because he does not belong to any particular caste group. That's also an advantage, right? Because the entire Gujarat looks at him as someone who is a chief minister, not by dint of any caste association, but by dint of his own popularity, by dint of his own merit. And right, that's a big plus for the BJP. And as far as Hardik Patel is concerned, I think someone in the panel mentioned, how a stalwart like Keshubhai Patel could only garner 4% votes in 2012, despite running a very intensive campaign against the BJP. He could garner only 4% vote, and Hardik Patel is just is simply a non-starter. He had achieved a lot of popularity to begin with, but certainly over the last 2 years now, he is seen increasingly as someone who has his own personal agenda and who has also possibly benefited from this agitation and not done anything for the community.
Okay.
And his interactions with Rahul Gandhi, the manner in which he has tried to really swing against the BJP, people think he has his own political and personal agenda,
okay,
and not anything to do with the community's benefit.
Okay,
so this has really punctured his whatever credibility he had acquired in the first few months of the agitation.
Okay, you don't think he's going to have much? We have just got 10 more minutes on the debate. Amiben Yagnik, quick question to you on the point that that Jaggi was making, which is that the Congress doesn't have an alternate agenda. I mean, the only thing that you're going to polls with is the fact that GST is sort of disillusioned traders. It's sort of it's a negative vote that you're seeking against the BJP without coming up with a concrete sort of governance agenda, and that many will fall the Congress nationally as well. But Jaggi seems to indicate that's the case even in the case of in the case of Gujarat as well. How would you counter that?
Actually, I think if you just meet this community at close quarters, I think there is a shimmering kind of anger about GST and demonetization too. And I think that is definitely going to affect, and that is why, if you would have seen the Honorable Prime Minister's speech when he came at the last rally, he spoke in Hindi as if he was addressing the whole nation. But when it came to addressing the community, this particular class of people in Gujarat, the traders and the SMEs and the small scale and even the industry people, he spoke in Gujarati because he wanted to tell them that I have not brought the GST. It is all the parties who have brought. And I think the people of Gujarat are very smart. They have understood that you are a majoritarian government. You have done it high-handedly and brought it in a haste. It has definitely affected us. That was, I think, that small part in Gujarati addressing the people of Gujarat or the traders in Gujarati. Second thing, I think if Mr. Vijay Rupani was so capable, and by the sheer logic which the BJP spokesperson is giving, I think the Honorable Prime Minister doesn't have to rush here 5 times in 1.5 months and address people of Gujarat. I think he is seeing what is on the ground reality. As far as Hardik Patel is concerned, I think it is not only whatever he is asking by way of reservation, but he has several demands. But meanwhile, during his Andolan, I think the state machinery has been used. The police have gone inside the homes, beaten up women, 14 young boys have lost life, patidars. And I think that 748 cases are going on in various courts. The government announces that we are going to withdraw 400 cases, and people are wondering, how can you just file a case and withdraw it just because you want to make amends for vote banks? And so these things are definitely going to make a difference. Okay, we may just not take all these things very lightly.
Okay, you believe that people will vote on these issues. Okay, I need to now sort of look at the national picture, and Shagurika, I'm coming to you first, which is while Gujarat is an important state election, and that it's a sort of prestige vote for the Prime Minister and for the party president, can we draw a larger conclusion? Could this indicate what could happen next in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, two crucial states where also there seems to be some amount of anti-incumbency creeping in? Can we extrapolate this to say that the mood in those states may also not necessarily be pro-Congress, or will we be erring if we were to do that? Sagarika.
I think that's important, Sandeep. All this time the BJP has been on a winning streak since 2014. It has successfully fought and won Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand. It has been UP. It has been on a winning streak. This is the first time in Gujarat that it is facing. It is not facing. In fact, it is facing anti-incumbency. It's looking to get to be re-elected. So it's actually this time going into the polls with without the benefit of being the challenger. So this is a new thing for Mr. Modi, because Mr. Modi's electioneering in Gujarat has always been that of the challenger. He's always been the challenger. In 2002 it was the Godhra situation. In 2007 it was the Maud Ka Saudagar statement that Sonia Gandhi made. In 2012 it was the UPA corruption. So he's always been in the position of the challenger. This time he's not the challenger, he is the incumbent, he is the central government in Delhi. So he's going to have to change his campaign rhetoric, and he is changing it, and it is making it about Gujarati Asmita and making it about Gujarati pride, and the important fact that he is the Gujarati Prime Minister and trying to use that in the Gujarat elections, which I think is going to is perhaps going to work for him. I think going forward, it is going to be important to see how the severely slowing economic condition impacts the situation in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. The fact is, as I mentioned, there have been poll reverses that the BJP has faced in Kerala, in Gurdaspur, in Nanded, and it seems to be also, as we see in Rajasthan, it has hastily backpedaled on the bill muzzling the reportage of civil service that the Vasundhara Raje government was bringing in. There was a lot of civil society outrage on that. It has backpedaled on that. So there is a degree of nervousness, which is why I think Gujarat is so very important. Himachal Pradesh is so very important. If the BJP wins Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, it will be in power in 19 states across India. So I think this will be a tremendous boost for the BJP as it goes forward into Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. But the baggage of the economic slowdown is something that the BJP is going to have to carry. But I think what is interesting, Sandeep, is the way the BJP has importantly repositioned itself as not a party of traders and businessmen, but as increasingly a party of the poor.
Okay,
as increasingly a party of that is giving benefits to the poor, the Ujjwala scheme, the other subsidies, the measures taken for the poor. So I think this is the kind of course correction that the BJP is trying to do to go from being the Soot Boot Ki Sarkar type of party to a pro-poor party, which it hopes will help it in the forthcoming elections and also in 2019. But I think Gujarat is very, very important for that reason, because it is where the BJP is seeking re-election. It's the first state where the BJP is seeking re-election and endorsement. It's not up against an incumbent government. It's not a challenger. Which is why I think it will be a huge morale booster for the BJP. But on the other hand, if its margin of victory comes down, and if the BJP is not able to win as handsomely as it thinks it will, then I think it's going to take a bit of a hit as it goes into the campaigns later in the year and also in the general elections.
Neerja, if it were to win Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, would it give that momentum going into the next year's crucial elections of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, where it will fight anti-incumbency and of course the big one in 2019? Is this just the momentum that it will build, or are these sort of separate elections and one must not extrapolate too much out of this election outcome? Neerja.
No, I think Gujarat is as important as was UP. UP gave a very different momentum to Narendra Modi and the BJP and the central government. I think if Narendra Modi, and we are very clear that it's going to be a Modi victory if BJP wins in Gujarat. That's a 22-year anti-incumbency that they are fighting otherwise. If they win Gujarat, Modi will become more invincible, and they will certainly take heart and they will think it's possible to beat anti-incumbency in the Hindi heartland states that are coming up for elections in 2018, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh as well as Chhattisgarh. Karnataka also is there, but there of course there is a Congress government. Suppose they lose Gujarat, then does it circumscribe Modi's powers and Amit Shah's powers in some way? Will there be other voices that will come up of how things should be done from within the party, from within the RSS, so that they can get ready for 2019? So I think this is going to be a very key critical election in Gujarat, both for the way politics is going to be conducted at the national level in the government as well as in the party.
Okay.
And also, you know, whether the opposition parties, the Congress get heart out of it.
Right.
If they do better, then will we see a formation of opposition front? I think that a whole lot of things will follow from there.
Okay. Okay, Jaggi, you know, let's analyze the sort of the implication from an economic point of view, and I guess it's tough to ascertain if economic issues have an impact on elections or not, because you have sort of, you know, differing views coming in on that. But one would argue that this is probably the worst situation that Modi could possibly be from an economic point of view. You know, growth at 5.7%, you know, a lot of disruption in the economy caused by demonetisation and GST. And it'll only get better from here unless the government, you know, comes up with another shocker. Things are only going to get better. We will see the, investment cycle revive in 6 to 12 months. You know, we will see the economy pick up momentum. GST's transitional impact will go through. So potentially, if at his worst, he is able to retain a state which has a large majority of trader sway on the electorate, you know, is that a very good sign for the Prime Minister, for the party, and from the market's point of view, which obviously wants this establishment in power?
Yes, absolutely. If there is one state that defines the close connection between business prospects and economic well-being, it is probably Gujarat, which is a state which has a lot of interest in business, small traders, big traders, all kinds of people. So, and that is where the disgruntlement lies, and that is where the groundswell of discomfort lies, and which is where what is making the party nervous. So the BJP has to pull out all the stops to make sure that it wins reasonably well. When I say reasonably well, I'd say it needs to be at least 100 plus seats, if not 115 plus, so that it gives a good signal that, okay, even when you're at the bottom of the economic cycle, you manage to retain a state which had 22 years of anti-incumbency built, and it is not anti-incumbency of just this year, it is 22 years you've been in power. And if you still can retain it in the worst possible, then it gives a very tremendous fillip to the party that, look, it can turn the cycle around, because in the next 12 months, we expect the economy to do far better, especially since the government is now taking the revival of it very, very seriously, as we saw with the bank recapitalization effort and the infrastructure push. So my thing is, Gujarat will signal both a political and economic signal to everybody, from business to markets and to politicians in general. And the remaining, Himachal not so much, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan are too far away, 12 months away, you should not be making conclusions. But Gujarat is the turning point in many senses than one.
Gujarat is a turning point. GVL, would you concede at least that if the BJP doesn't better its performance, then that itself probably is going to be a setback? You've been a psephologist yourself. Would you agree that if the BJP doesn't better, this election is all about the BJP trying to better its performance and the Congress trying to better its performance, at least if this opinion poll is anything to go by? Of course, much can change between now and the election date, but is it critical that the BJP betters its performance to prove that there is, this is a referendum on the Prime Minister and of course on your local leadership in Gujarat?
No, Sandeep, for the BJP, every election is very important, however small or however big. Certainly, Gujarat is an important state for the BJP to win. We have been in power for a very long time. But there is an inherent bias when you ask me a question like this. I think the media expects BJP to win 90%, and they think Congress is winning even with 20%. I think you should be reasonable. For every party, winning is important. And you can't judge different parties by different standards, whatever be the inherent bias in the media, because I think our record, even when we win elections, I think somehow people think, oh, it's not as big as it should be. Please don't judge different parties by different yardsticks. A win is a win. A victory is very important for the BJP. Whether it is a victory by 5 seats or 50 seats, it's still a victory. We want to certainly maximize our tally, and our target is to win the highest number of seats ever. But that's a target. But a victory is a victory. So let's wait and see where exactly we are going to what kind of tally we are going to get up with, but we have no doubt we will win a big majority in the forthcoming elections.
Make what you want of it. That's GVL trying to temper expectations. Always, it's never a bad thing to do. It's always better to under-promise and over-deliver. So I like the fact that you're trying to temper expectations of the markets as well. But you know, I'm going to let you have the last word, Amiben Yagnik, which is what can change between now and election date. Again, like I said, these are two opinion polls that are giving the BJP a clear lead. But to your mind, what can change between now and the election day that could swing this in the favor of the Congress party?
Oh, there's going to be plenty on the ground if you just wait and watch, because there's still several weeks to the final polling, and the way the BJP has been purchasing, I just said, from even the Patidar people, the right and the left hands of Hardik Patel, and you have seen the cases filed against one of the Patidar persons who was offered 10 lakhs, and everywhere you can see, I think the people of Gujarat are comparing not what the BJP is targeting, but what the BJP is delivering, what it has delivered in 22 years. You cannot continuously do Congress bashing because you had 22 years to perform, but you haven't, and you haven't delivered. And also comparing 3.5 years of the central rule. So I think there is subconsciously there's a continuous comparison in the minds of the people of Gujarat. So not let's go on the polls right now. Let us wait and just see what is happening. I think BJP is extremely nervous and is trying all its ways, I think, to see that the image is maintained. But I think they've already created a dent themselves by indulging into several kinds of activities which do not befit what they're saying, because it's a double speak. And I think there's going to be a very different kind of an election this time.
Okay, well, I claim to be no political assessment, but all I can say is journalist assessment when it comes to elections is almost always wrong. Opinion polls can often be wrong, so I guess we'll have to wait and watch till December to figure out which way the people of Gujarat vote. But what our panel does agree is that a lot is at stake in this political elections for the Prime Minister, for the party, and I would say for the economy as well. Thanks so much, Neerja Chaudhary, Shagrika Ghosh, R. Jagannathan, Amiben Yagnik and GVL Narasimha Rao for joining us on the India Development